Good morning, everyone. As we continue with the Wicca section in which I'm doing, we've come to the circle. So first, before we cast the circle, we need to cleanse the area in which we are casting the circle. To do this, generally in Wicca, there's half and half here, because some will start the cleansing if they're using a broom from south all the way back round to south. Some will start it at north all the way back to north. You can also walk the perimeter to cleanse it as well. Visualise and cleanse, walk the perimeter clockwise. But as long as it's prepared beforehand, then you can begin to cast your circle. If you are working within that circle, be sure that you have things there that you are working with, such as a candle, an offering, some incense, maybe a photograph sometimes, a little figurine. It doesn't matter how big or small the item is, just make sure that it's in that circle before you cast your circle, because the idea is you're containing things in there. So once it's cast, you are not meant to walk out of it or break it. It would have to be closed first. And as I said, there's many different ways of casting circles. The one, and you'll have to forgive me because my dog is snoring very loud at the side of me and you can probably hear him. I start my castings actually at northeast, so it's in between. I don't actually start at a point. Some in Wicca start at south, while others start at north and others start at east. Choose what feels right to you. There are no rules. There are no rules. There is in my way of craft because it's an old style craft, but there are no rules in Wicca. You can begin wherever you choose to begin. And I'm going to tell you the circle casting. And the circle casting is a pretty old Wicca casting. There's lots of new ones out there now, which you can use. This is more of an older one. When you start casting, as you are stating, calling up the corners, you need to face that direction. So I'm going to go south, west, north, east and centre. That's what I'm going to do the circle as. And this is what you would do. You would obviously face south. It's best to have your arms in front of you with your palms facing the sky. It's a way of receiving, basically. To the winds of the south, great serpent, wrap your coils of light around us, or around me, of course. Teach me, or us, to shed the past the way you shed your skin, to walk softly on earth. Teach us the beauty way. That's for yourself. To the winds of the west, Mother Jaguar, protect the medicine space. Teach me the way of peace, to live impeccably. Show us beyond the way of death. Then we go to north. To the winds of the north, hummingbird, grandmothers and grandfathers, ancient ones, come and warm your hands by our fires. Whisper to us in wind. We honour you and have come before. And you who will come after, we shall honour too, our children's children. That is the north. Then we turn to east. To the winds of the east, great eagle, condor, come to us from the place of the rising sun. Keep us under your wing. Show us the mountains we only dare to dream of. Teach us to fly, to wing with great spirit. And then central, Mother Earth. I've gathered for the healing of children, your children, the stone people, the plant people, the four-legged, the two-legged, the creepy crawlers, the finned, the furred, and the winged ones. All are relations. Put your hands to the sky, Mother Earth to the ground, Father Sun to the sky. Father Sun, Grand Mother Moon, in the star nations, Great Spirit, you who are known by 1,000 names, and you who are the unnameable. Thank you for bringing us together. That is your circle cast. You can also call in any archetypes that you wish to use, any deities, of course. That would be very personal to you. Everything then is done within that circle. But when you have finished, bear in mind that you must close it because you've opened it. So it needs to be closed. All you need to do is thank the archetypes for being with you and simply turn to the four directions and say that you are releasing South Serpent and so forth. Just release them all, but go counterclockwise. Then release Father Sky and release Mother Earth. You would release Father Sky by reaching to the sky and Mother Earth by touching. You simply just say, Mother Earth, I release you, thank you, go with blessings. You know, South Serpent, I release you, thank you, go with blessings. There is, as you know, there's always that other one as well that was brought up, and it's calling to the guardians of the watchtowers, which, to be fair, that's more, that came from more Hollywood theme type, just so you know. But it's still a very good calling regardless, and it's still widely used, very wildly used. So, I mean, it's like we have our circles. Traditionally, that's our area, but it's the same as having a temple or a church. You know, there is no difference. It's just that we have a circle. It's just somewhere we can attune to our subconscious. We can train our mind of the awareness of the forces that we don't usually recognize, we don't usually see. You know, to enter the circle is to enter a higher state of consciousness, which is what happens in prayer in temples and churches. You're entering a different state of mind. You will notice a change within your circle. I find that before any ritual, any circle cast of any kind, it is best to always be grounded first, because to ground oneself means we're not going to feel sort of unbalanced afterwards or during. Remember, you can cleanse it in many ways. There's smudging, there's walking the perimeter, there's envisioning, there's using the ethereal air to blow it away, and there is the traditional ringing of the bell. And I get so frustrated with that ringing of the bell, and I'll tell you why. People think the ringing of the bell calls in the fae. It does not. It does not. The fae do not like those bells. They don't like it. That the ringing of the bell is to actually rid energies. Do you know that? It's to actually clear energies. It's to release the energies back. It has nothing to do with calling in the fae. It never has. There's only one bell that the fae like, and you can find what that bell is in my Fairies Through Time, because I explain it all. The traditional Wicca bell that you see on an altar is to cleanse the four corners. So sometimes the bell is used for that. But it's definitely to rid things. It is definitely not to bring things in, and it never would. It's kind of like Buddha. Buddha do it as a cleansing. It's always a cleansing. It's always a sending away. It sends a vibration into the area that certain entities just don't like in their ears, basically. So then we get into the cone of power. Think in the cone, think hat. There you go. Although traditionally it's seen in stories and things now of like the wizard's hat, you know, and in fairy tales. Well, it actually represents the cone of power, does the witch's hat. And that is for most types of witches, whether Wiccan or whether normal hereditary witches, grey witches. That's what it symbolises. It symbolises the direction of the energy currents. It's a highly significant symbol, and it's thought to improve ritual workings when you apply it properly. So if you want to exercise this cone of power within your circle, stand and imagine that you are inside of your large circle, obviously. The larger the circle, the greater the power you will raise. However, only make the circle sort of as big as something you can clearly envision, because otherwise it would be pointless. Envision it in your mind. It's much harder to envision sort of 13 feet circles into it or something, you know. So try and envision a proper circle that's not going to be too much. To envision the circle, this means you're beginning to relate within the power around you. You're beginning to tune in. This does not require a circle casting. You are just envisioning a circle. It does not require the casting. This is for the cone of power. So now you need to envision that the circle begins to glow. Like when you get hot or when something gets hot and it changes colour by glowing. That's the type of light that you want to envision seeing, like hot coals, but this is in a circle and it's white, and then it's going to sort of grow up, so to speak. Turn your body in place in the same direction as you would when casting a circle. So you will rotate 3 times, full circle, and you don't have, this is not done fast. This is not done fast, but you can sort of take it to a minute. Really, you want to rotate 3 times, it be at least a minute, that rotation. And it's an important step to watch the world spinning around you, if you get what I mean. So sort of as you are turning, watch, keep focused on what's happening. Now, close your eyes, but stop spinning. And imagine that whatever energy drove this circle, drove it through the ground, it's now burnt through and is sort of going up and around you. It's inside the circle. You are standing central within this cone that is being grown up and created around you. Imagine that the world is turning, but differently to where you're stood. Then you will see, well, you're meant to envision smoke rising from this circle that's burnt into the ground that you're envisioning. And you're standing central to this as this smoke rises from this bright burning circle that is visually creating this cone shape going all the way around you, and you're stood central. Traditionally, smoke is used, but you can also use the light that you see and envision it swirling around you up to your eye level. Obviously, it's going to go over your head until it reaches and meets a single point directly above your head. Envision the smoke or light moving faster and faster, picking up speed. Allow the circle to speed up until you feel the need for release of the emotional tension. At this point, you can choose to recite a spell, an incantation, desire a manifestation, really whatever you want, because what you're doing is envisioning the cone of power, which is the same as a witch's hat. It's the same shape, it's a cone, and that's what the hat signifies to witches and Wiccans. It's all about this very powerful energy that we create through the cone of power. It will utilize the energy of nature. So it should be done outdoors, preferably. It's much better to do it outdoors. To do it inside, only if there is absolutely no other alternative, but do be very careful doing it inside. This is sort of an outdoor exercise only. Always ground any excess energy once you have performed this cone of power. Ground it, send it back into Mother Earth so she can utilize what she needs and it can be dispersed. And you only have to ask to do that. You don't have to have particular words or a particular chant or anything like that. It's very personal to you, remember. So it depends what you're asking for when you create the cone of power, to how you want to send it back out there into the earth. And I hope those help, guys. Those are, well, that's one circle casting. It's a pretty old Wicca way. And that is the cone of power, and why we wear the witch's hat, so to speak. It's the same as in Wicca as what it is in witchcraft. The cone of power is just the cone of power. But in traditional old witchcraft, we can create any form of power. It doesn't have to be a cone. It can be a ball in our hands and we can let it go, things like that. It's just a bit different like that. But the cone of power is used in both. I think I'm going to upload the traditional witch circle casting, which is very old version. And I'll probably try and pop it in at the end of this if you want to hear it, or just upload it separately. But it's very different. It's not exactly light, but it's not exactly dark. It's sort of in between, because we always see ourselves going in between worlds when we do that. But thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Love and light and many blessings.